The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Are we wasting everyone's time?
What does the magic 8-ball say? You have to tell us. Oh, there he is. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Good.
Nice shirt, buddy. Hey, nice shirt,
We're
buddy.
nailing this so far.
Here's a drop if you wanted one. Somebody's got to be in Discord, right?
Oh, I gotta be in Discord?
Well, one of us.
That means often. Okay, I think I could do that.
Could you?
Well,
That would be
we're
really
all
nice.
still obviously getting it together here. Welcome, everybody, to Hunting with Azure Sentinel with the Fireside Chat with Kent and Jordan, two of our favorite people over here at Wild West Hackin Cast. And we just love y'all. So
Thank you so much. We've missed this, honestly.
I
It's been a
know.
while.
we should do this more often. I can't wait. Are you guys coming to Way West?
One of us,
Yes.
please.
Yeah.
I think that you both need
What
to.
is that?
When is it?
Yeah.
It's May 4th through the 6th. That's when the actual conference is itself. But then we've got the pre-conference training. That is the 3rd and 4th, I believe. Let me see. I should probably know this. Yes, the 3rd and 4th is the pre-conference training. And you guys are teaching, so you have to be there.
Yeah, better be there.
Sounds like
So-
you might be there.
I think I'm ready.
Okay, you guys are gonna
We're ready
nail
for
it.
Way West.
Yeah, totally.
Very doubtful.
Is that what the magic 8-ball said? Is very doubtful.
Very
Yeah,
doubtful.
Lies. A throne of lies.
Well, it does not. Well, no, she didn't impose. So for those of you that are new to Hackin Cast, obviously this isn't the content. As intelligent as we sound right now, this isn't the actual content. This is what we call pre-show banter. You show up early because we show up early. We show up early because you show up early. It's this vicious cycle that we love, and we do it pretty much every single time. So, and this is usually the only time I'm involved. So you show up for like.
For some people, it's called "We Just Woke Up."
Yeah.
Yes. And as
Not
you guys
really.
can tell, Megan lost her train of thought right in the middle of that.
No thanks to you interrupting.
I know. Shut up, Jason. Nobody asked you. So,
Updated slides.
These
We-
should be the latest, I think. Let's see which. This does not look like the updated slides, does it?
Oh.
Heh.
I mean, we could use
Uh-oh.
that deck. We're good.
Hang on. Plenty of time.
yeah.
This is the warm up. This is the warm
I'm
up.
not worried at all.
I'm going to close the slide deck, stop the screen share for a moment here, make sure we got everything sorted out.
So,
Okay.
Ryan, I walked into the office yesterday and there's this package with your name on it. And then Nick shows up about 3 hours later, looks at the package and said, well, that was supposed to go out yesterday. And then walks away. So I think you're getting a package that doesn't have all the pieces, maybe? I don't know.
Oh
Well,
boy.
System schmishdoms. It's fine. I think it'll
They'll
all
get here when it gets here.
work out.
Yeah, it'll
So
be fine.
for those of
It'll
you
be
that are
fine.
joining us, make sure we use Discord for chat. So please head on over to the Wild West Hackin Fest server. We use the live chat, which has the little bullhead
The
on
link
it.
is in the GoToWebinar chat.
Yeah, I was gonna say, all you gotta do is look in the GoToWebinar chat. It's there.
Sweet. Good. I was hoping that somebody posted it there, but I wasn't sure because I was
I'm
over in
on it.
Discord.
Ryan is on top
I've
of things.
got it.
You
I
guys
also
are-
got the link for the Way West event. I'll repost that again for the new people who show up. Sorry to spam the chat, but for all the people who join between now and when the thing actually starts, they don't get to see the chat history, so we just got to repost it all the time. So sorry,
Yeah.
people.
Oh, well, we can pin it too. We can pin
Oh,
the
no,
Way West.
GoToWebinar?
Yeah. Oh, no, not in
I'm
GoToWebinar.
talking about GoToWebinar's chat.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I can see, but maybe I'm just like magic. Is that why I can see the previous Discord chat? But never mind. My bad.
That's
That's
a
because
different
you're
chat.
special, Megan.
I know. Listen.
And I agree with Nibble. It's a cow, not a bull.
Okay. All right. I am not married to the bull theory at all.
Although, if you look at it,
I thought it was a steer.
it has horns. And last time I checked, cows don't have horns, right?
Well, longhorns do, don't they? I don't know. Do you guys are ranchers.
We are ranchers.
Yeah. So
Bulls are
like, is
supposed to
there
have horns.
female
I thought
cows with
some
horns?
varieties of cows do have horns. But remember, a
Ah.
cow is a female and a bull is a male.
Right.
Right.
So let's
Right,
start
but
with a basic distinction.
are there
Welcome
male?
to Cows 101.
Yes.
Pre-show banner.
Does anyone want to tell John's cow joke?
John has a cow joke?
Yeah.
I'd like
Yeah,
to
I don't
John.
know it, so
I don't know it
obviously
either.
You
You guys
volunteered.
don't know John's cow joke?
No.
He was driving his kids by a field and they looked over and said something to the effect of,
That's bullshit.
no, that's the sound a cow makes on Daddy's grill.
Oh,
That's terrible. That
I
is,
obviously did not deliver well, but
No,
it's something to
didn't.
that effect.
Please
yeah, I
click
don't think that,
containing a seaplane, and it's giving me 9 images of planes.
Ouch.
But some of them have the little things on the bottom.
A robot trying to convince you
You
to
are
prove
not-
you're not a robot?
Yeah, something like that.
is it
Yeah.
GoToWebinar? Like GoToWebinar has some tricky captchas, I can tell you. I'm like, I end up having to do it several times, and then I feel like really old and that I can't see. It's
the
really
fun
kind of
ones are
judgy.
when you click the motorcycle it's asking you to click, and then the picture disappears, and then something else comes up. And it's, of course, another motorcycle, and you got to click it like 30 times until it finally there's no more motorcycles.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure a robot could do this better than me, so I don't know why they're testing me on this.
That's how the images got there in the first place for you to click on.
It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Oh, Leishan, that's some good looking steaks on the grill. Yum. I haven't had a good steak in a long time.
I actually just had steak last night.
Did you?
I did.
I did not. I haven't had steak I haven't had a really good steak in a really, really long. I think that I didn't have one at Way West either. I don't know. It's been a really long time. That's weird.
How
I
do you
made
eat your
steak
steak?
tips recently and used ribeye.
Yeah.
The problem I have is that some of my kids really want well done steak,
Ooh. No.
and that's tough. Except for the problem I had in this case was I had 2 pans. I had the same glaze for both. I cooked 1 pan medium. The glaze didn't set up. In the pan with the well done, the glaze actually set up really nicely. And so the well done steak turned out tasting better than the medium, which was, like the worst. I don't know what I'm looking for here, but I was really disappointed. So
Well,
start
I'm
the glaze
disappointed
earlier.
too, just hearing this story.
Oh, it was brutal. It was
Like
brutal.
well
I
done
love
steaks, I just,
bloody. Like,
yeah.
When you said, they want their steak well done, and then you said it was rough, I thought that was the end of it.
no, it got worse. It got worse.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm a medium rare girl.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Except not a girl.
Well,
Well, you know,
gender is fluid these days.
yes,
Not
that
that
is
True.
true.
That's true.
I completely agree. So for those of you just joining us, this is obviously not the content yet. That will start at the top of the hour. This is what we call pre-show
20
banter.
minutes.
And it will start, yes, in 20 minutes at the top of the hour. Thank you. Thank you, Big Ben, for the time check. But we're super excited about hanging out with Kent and Jordan. We all work together, but we never, we're all remote pretty much. So you guys get to hang out. I'm so jealous. I can't wait to come to Deadwood to hang out with you guys. Even if you don't want to, I'm going to make you. That's what I usually.
BB and I had this conversation yesterday. It's so like it's a challenge in the environment we live to have amazing coworkers. Rarely get to see them. The time we do spend with them being, split by, the chasms of the internet, and connecting on camera is fine, but like seeing, feeling, and being around each other like that, I miss that, and so do a lot of people.
I do too. And it's kind of like when we like get together, it's almost like a family reunion.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like.
So what is it? Two family reunions a year?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
For Way West and for Deadwood.
Deadwood. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited because we had to cancel last year Deadwood, obviously because of COVID, because of Delta, the in-person portion. But I'm super stoked about coming out this year.
Listen, I would argue that it's better than a family reunion.
Yeah.
I was
Some of those people.
And yeah, let's just say, let's go to Wild West Ag Fest. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah.
It's amazing. I have a family reunion story. Went to one this summer, and it was actually the most fun family reunion I've ever been to, and this is with my wife's family.
It was not the same family reunion either.
No, it was not. This is with my wife's family. And I was hanging out there, and one of these guys said, "Oh, hey, what do you do?" Yeah, just hang out with this company that does penetration testing, hacking, training, all this crap. And he looked at me and he kind of gave me the sideways look, and he said, "You know what? I think I've been to your office. I am a background investigator for the FBI and DCI." And so he had stopped into the Rapid City office to ask about one of our interns who moved over to the NSA. And I was like, "Oh, hey, nice to see you again."
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It was crazy. It was a crazy moment. So then I had somebody to hang out with the whole reunion. Like, he was fascinated by what I do and me about what he does.
Yeah, that would be super cool to just do background checks. And I think that would be, I've tried to get my best friend. I'm like, we should be like private investigators. And I was like, we could surveil people. It would be so awesome. She was like, dude, we would not do well. We would be talking and miss the whole whatever we were supposed to be watching. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Never mind. I'll stick to what I'm doing. Good idea.
Yeah. It would be a very interesting gig.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think it's as sexy as they make it seem on TV. I think that there's a lot of kind of penetration testing, right? It seems so, mysterious and it's so much fun, but it's a whole lot of monotonous, just trying and retrying and stuff like that. So
the private investigator in Ozark season 4.
Hey, no spoilers, no spoilers.
No spoilers. His character is incredible.
I just started watching that. I'm up to season 2.
It is it's dark, dude. It's dark. I have no spoilers, but there is a PI that is an amazing character in season 4.
Yeah, I think I started watching Ozark, and for whatever reason, I fell off of it. I do need to re-up and restart that, because I can't even remember what the hell happened at the beginning. So, but that's pretty much what my life is. So there's that.
It's probably a good show to rewatch because there's just so much.
Yeah, there's a lot there. It seemed I think that they're not, this sounds so terrible, but I think that that's why I stopped watching it, because I was like, man, this freaking show is hard. Like I don't want to, like, this takes effort. Like, that's not what I'm down for when I'm like watching TV. Like, I am not there to like work. I'm there to just like enjoy. So I felt like I didn't have the mental capacity to get into the characters and stuff. So
I do something almost quite the opposite. I sit down here on my couch and turn on something very quietly so I can barely hear it.
yeah.
And then I like, build lab content, slides, threat hunt, do random stuff in my spare time. And this was one of the shows that I was like, oh wait, I gotta set down my laptop. I'm actually interested in this.
Yeah.
I
I used to have TV like constantly on in the background, but I've noticed like over the past 6 months or so, it's like I'll have music on instead. Like growing up, my mom always had a radio on. In whatever room there was always a radio going. So I've kind of gone back to that instead of having just the white noise of like the news or whatever, because the news is just so freaking depressing. I just don't even want to watch it. I don't care.
I think it's
just like, huh?
I said, I think it's because you're getting older.
Well, listen.
I thought all news was supposed to be bad. Like, isn't it intended to be bad so that we watch?
I don't know. Well, and it's just, I mean, you just can't, like, you can watch whatever narrative you want to watch. It's all just echo chambers, like, to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
how can I look away from this train wreck I can see coming down the road?
I know. I mean, I'm sure that that's exactly what people are thinking right now watching us.
Yeah.
Oh, You've only got 13 minutes.
I know, we've got this. Come on, let's rally troops.
I do know. So I also have stuff like playing in the background oftentimes when I'm working, and YouTube's algorithms are great. Sometimes it gives me some decent music that's enough that you can chill and just completely have on a low volume. Occasionally it's weird. You'll be on a playlist, a musical playlist, and then you'll get like Linus Tech Tips will jump in there, which if you're trying to work, like, the dude's awesome, but his voice can be super annoying.
Yeah.
And it is such a distraction sometimes when you're listening to like some decent quiet music to then have it turn and jump to something you're not expecting. But yeah, I too have to have something in the background pretty often.
Yeah, I listen to, like, I use Pandora. I'm old school. So I have like different radio stations. And the other day I was in class. I can't remember whose class it was. I think it was Troy's class. And Noah was in the background of the class. And I just had it muted. I was on the, it was just open in the background. And I had my Salt and Pepper radio station playing on Pandora. And I am dancing. I'm actually standing at my standing desk, dancing up a storm. And Noah sends me a message on Teams. And I just had this momentary panic of that, oh my God, my camera's just come back on magically. So I thought, oh my God, I've gone live and I'm dancing on screen. What the hell am I going to do? I like freaked out. And he was like, where are the slides or something? Or where's the recording? And I'm like, Noah, seriously? You freaking interrupted my dance marathon with this? Like, what the hell? I just went to instant panic. Oh, it's so funny. And he's like, gosh, I'm really sorry. Because I was like, oh my God, I'm like typing really fast and freaking out. And he's like, I'm really sorry. It's like, it's okay. This is what goes through my crazy brain during the day.
Hilarious.
How is he supposed to know? Come on.
I know. Well, he and I did Deadwood. We were MCs together. And so we had tons of weird moments.
We were doing John's class. What was that, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but yeah, we were doing John's class, and my wife was leaving for work, and she had stopped by for her lunch break, and then she was going back to work from her lunch break, and I thought I was muted, and she yelled at me from the front door, hey, I'm going back to work, love you. And I was like, okay, love you, bye. And John's like, And I was like, oh, sorry guys, thought my mic was muted. That's my fault.
I'm surprised he didn't just jump right in and say, I love you too.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
We have a great story about that for another time.
Okay. Yeah, hot mics, man. They're scary.
They're so bad.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I've never done anything like super duper embarrassing or like really,
Oh,
really
I have.
bad on hot mic, but
Well, not on a hot mic. I've just done it knowingly on a hot mic. And I've said like super freaking weird stuff. And then I'm just like, well, that's out for the freaking universe to hear for the rest of the days of the internet.
I was going to say, looking back on it, I've done plenty of things on a hot mic that I knew were the hot mic that are also embarrassing. So.
Right.
We were presenting at a school, and I could not pronounce the word. I can't remember what it was.
Oh yeah, you run into that occasionally.
Where I struggled with word. It was funny because we were on a board, and I could not pronounce the word. It was a simple word. I didn't have enough coffee that day. And the guy next to me, after I'm done talking, his turn to come and talk, he stands up and he also can't pronounce the word. And I'm like, yeah, okay. that did that.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah, at least that you like transferred the weird mic over to the next person.
Yeah, it was bad.
Now I'm curious as to know, you got to remember the word. If you think of it, you have to tell us what it is, just randomly in the middle of just something.
Yes.
I know it's not non-repudiation. I know it wasn't that.
I believe it was related though.
It was actually simple. It was like 2 syllables. And I don't know what it was.
This is why we inquire about your credential abuse policies. What happens if you lose an account? Or what happens if you're a blue teamer and you password spray and uncover a whole bunch of accounts? You can't prove non-repudiation and your policies don't tell you anything to do with it and you're subject to compliance. Now you're in trouble. Compliance, murky water.
Yeah. Yes.
That's
Well,
why they
thanks everybody for joining us today for our maybe the second or third Hackin Cast this year. We haven't had a ton, maybe just one. I can't even remember. It seems like January was the longest year. It was
one in January, 1 or 2 in January.
Yeah.
I think it's the 3rd.
Yeah, I like lost power at the beginning of January and then didn't have hot water. It was a really shitty month. Yeah.
My 2022 started out pretty shitty. It did.
Yeah, mine too. Day
Crankshaft in the car went out, so ended up having to go buy a new car because they were like, oh, $5,000 for the engine, and I'm like, if I pay you $5,000 now, I'm gonna have to turn around and pay you another $4,000 to replace the transmission here pretty soon because it's got almost 200,000 miles on it. I think we got enough mileage out of this car, so I'm just gonna go buy a new one. But then I got full time at BHIS, and we did get a new car that was way better than what we had before. So I mean, it's turning out pretty all right.
It definitely, my year has turned around as well.
So
the first day was.
There's hope for everybody.
That's right, everybody. Everybody listening right now. Everybody listening right now. If you're in a shitty situation, there is hope.
Yes. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And you know what? Right. It's way west. I mean, we're going to be in San Diego. There's going to be ocean. We're going to do we're doing dinner on the Midway, which is from Top Gun. I mean, come on. That is like where dreams
that's going to be
made.
Pretty darn cool.
Yeah. That is going to be so cool. Growing up, like Top Gun was like the coolest movie ever.
This is my mental health cat.
Oh, hi kitty.
Be happy.
My cat's not sweet like that. It's a complete jerk.
Well, most cats are complete jerks. Let's just bottom line it. They are only around for you to feed, and sometimes they will allow you to pet them. But
Yeah.
You have to earn it.
yes, yes.
And cats
And
can
if you're in
definitely
the
tell
middle,
if you
Go
like
ahead.
cats or not.
I'm gonna go home and my cat's gonna be irritated that I was near a nice cat.
yes, you're probably going to get scratched. But, you know, admission's the first step in any process.
Hey, listen, I made it to Discord, so that
Well-
only took me a little bit.
Do we
I
high
see
five
that.
in person? Perfect. Nice shot. No physical contact yet. We have windows open on that end, down here. So we have airflow crossing plus the fire.
I've got a straight exit for a door, so I'm good.
Yep.
I hope it doesn't get that bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I also hope it doesn't get that bad, Kent.
I like Lazy Sprocket's suggestion there, Jason. Just drop an LS into that car and call it good.
Man, that was a God. What was it? It was a 2007 Chevy Uplander. Man, that thing did not have jack for storage space. There was absolutely no trunk space. So even going to the grocery store was like just.
I don't even know what that is. I've never heard
I've
of an
never even heard of
Uplander.
it.
It's a Chevy Uplander mini van, I guess.
Oh, it's a minivan.
Yeah, it's like
A
a
minivan, okay.
slash
Yeah.
four-wheel drive crossover thing, I'd call it.
Yeah. See, I drive a Camaro and I have surprisingly a lot of storage. Like I can get things in my car like rugs and like I'll go to like, you know, Home Goods or Tuesday Morning and I buy a chair and they're like, all right, do you want to pull your car up? And I like pull up my Camaro and they're like, and I'm like, we'll get it in. Trust me, it's fine. And you just have to wiggle it in there and it's awesome. I love it.
We
And
bought
it's
a
really drive.
we bought a 2013, I think, Town and Country.
They're nice vans.
Oh man, that thing's got mad space in it. Holy cow. But I've got
Jason, have you seen the Chrysler Pacifica with the Hellcat in it?
no.
Oh my God, there's
Ooh.
such a thing. That
You
is
should
so
check
cool.
out the Chrysler Pacifica or the Chrysler Hellcat. It is
All right.
a monster. If I ever get it for 75 grand, I will probably buy one for my family. My kids want it. I mean, I have a ton of kids, so like we have to have a minivan or a third row and storage. So like
Yep.
if I ever come upon some extra cash, I will be ordering one of those.
Yeah, we've got 6 kids, so we have to have a lot of space too. But we've got
We have 9, so we got you.
yeah.
Is that a factory car, Jordan?
Say what?
No,
Is
it's
that
a
a factory-made
kid
That
car?
is a factory ordered car. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Not an aftermarket swap is my point.
No, you're not gonna go down to your Chrysler dealer and they're just pull one out. No.
No, we've got a 2000, or let's see, we've got the Town and Country, I've got a Volkswagen Jetta, I've got a Jeep Compass, and I've got Harley Davidson Road King and a Harley Davidson Ironside 883. So
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
with that, we're at the top of the hour. So for those of you that are joining us via GoToWebinar, you will be receiving a certificate of completion tomorrow around this time, about 24 hours. If you are streaming on YouTube, you will not get a certificate of completion unless you register through GoToWebinar. But welcome everybody. And I guess, did Jason or Ryan, did you guys have any other housekeeping notes before we turn it over to the guys here?
as usual,
Nope.
I got nothing.
Well,
I'll just say we do have closed captioning on the live stream on YouTube if you need closed captioning stuff. And that's it. We can hand it over, I think.
all right, cool. We'll see y'all at the in about an hour or so.
Excellent. And thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
I think we can skip the title slide. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
You want to introduce us while I make sure my clicks are in order?
Hey, look at all those logos.
It's a whole bunch of companies that
Help
help,
us and
yeah.
our stuff.
Help.
All right.
and support us.
Look, there we are. Listen, if you want to know more about us, someone can put a link somewhere in Discord.
Now, the disclaimer here is it's going to sound a little gushy at times during this webcast because I have really fallen in love with Sentinel, Azure, Defender. I'm relatively turning toward the Microsoft club.
And I can definitely say that I have watched him fall in love with Azure Sentinel and I'm SE, so I was already there. All right, so this is you know, if we wanted to look about why we're here today, we need to talk about the EPS, the executive problem statement. And it's been a long time. Those that have watched Jordan and I for a while have known that there was a time that we talked about HELC a lot. And today, HELC is kind of the EPS. It's the executive problem statement. So that's kind of where we start today at. So we should probably explain a little bit about what HELC is. But before we do that, we should talk about the executive problem statement from 2018, where we asked some basic questions, like, are our tools working?
What can we detect?
What can we detect, and how can we test this? And what are our gaps? Those are really great questions that we asked once upon a time, and we had a great answer for. And then later on, we really wanted to look for some logs about certain attacks. And Attack Tactics 7, we talked about the logs that we were looking for. Well, this is maybe somewhere around Attack Tactics 7.5. This is this SIEM we were looking for, and it's not HELC.
Yeah,
So,
unfortunately. But these are still the same executive problem statements that we've been asking for years, and that a lot of companies ask us. Is there a tool I can buy that will solve these problems? Is there something I can do that will fix all of these security problems? Can I save myself from getting hacked with some solution that this vendor just called me to offer?
the easy button.
And we're still in the same boat that there is no easy button. But really, again, the problem statement here is we needed a threat hunting platform that we could demonstrably perform an attack, find some evidence of the attack, and then create, you know, a defense around it, just some kind of improvement. So
that's where we kind of landed at. So let's talk about HELC a little bit. HELC was the hunting elk platform, right? Elastic Kibana. And the idea behind it was you could dump a bunch of logs into it and do some log normalization and end up with essentially a SIEM. The problem with it was designed to never leave an alpha state, which was okay if you considered that it was never designed to graduate from an alpha state. There's been some changes to Elastic in the last couple of years, as well as some vulnerabilities related to the underlying code that ELK uses, that not just HELC, but ELK uses, that kind of prompted us to look at some other options. And that's what we did. So,
I mean, there were licensing considerations, and then like we loved HELC for its ease of deployment. We always wanted to consider ourselves similar to parachuters. If you were going to land in an environment that had been compromised but had no logs, which unfortunately is very common in the incident response world, you land somewhere that just got compromised, FBI knocked on the door and said, hey, all your customers' credit cards got popped. HELC was our solution to rapidly deploy a threat hunting platform. And we loved the solution for that. But under the hood were things like Apache Spark and Jupyter integrations and, you know, notebooks. And now, because it's still an alpha, unfortunately, there's also vulnerabilities. So you are a parachuter, you perform an incident response, you spin HELC, you've now presented the attacker a log4j shell. And this is not an acceptable solution for us to push anymore.
So now we should add that I don't think we're alone in this, because we met up with Cyborg Dog, Roberto Rodriguez, a while back, who worked with Nate to build HELC. And that's kind of why we know some of these things, like HELC was never designed to go past alpha. it's probably no surprise that when we kind of look at what Roberto is doing right now, he's actually migrated to using Sentinel. So yes, we're saying here in Lights Health, maybe it'll come back from the dead, but at this point, a lot of the active development is now moved towards other projects, including Sentinel, which we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and those licensing considerations also impacted Nate and Roberto's considerations for continuing, to like leave the project in alpha, but still maintain it on the back end. So when Amazon started selling Elastic as its own platform logging tool, Elastic got pissed because, well, they weren't, receiving all the funds maybe they should be. So it changed the licensing.
Yeah, but Amazon doesn't own Elk, so.
So yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff going on under the hood, and really, yeah, that's sort of the summary of how
I suppose we should say Azure Sentinel's not free.
It is most definitely not free. I think there's a slide with a pile of $100 bills on it.
All right,
we'll get
so
there.
Looking at a way of doing this, previously we used Terraform for Helk, and we used Terraform to build a bunch of VMs kind of on whatever platform you wanted, and then you'd build the requirements to get Helk running with a couple Windows systems, and we used Terraform for that, which was okay. It worked out. It was a lot of effort, and it was a little bit difficult for us to troubleshoot. So we've kind of pivoted. Now using Azure Sentinel, we can really start to look at ARM templates. So we've generated an ARM template that if you wanted to play with this and check out Azure Sentinel, it's very, very easy. I don't think we could have made this easier to do. Go to doazlab.com. That's what we're going to be using for our class later next month. And essentially, it sets up a entire network for you with Sentinel, with the Windows DC, with a joined domain, with an attack system on it, all inside of your Azure cloud platform. So it's super easy. Like, it's one button and you answer a couple of questions and it's done. And to us, that was so pivotable. Oh, maybe that was the word.
Pivotable versus
right.
pivotal.
Pivotal.
But I think as a side note, as a pen tester, I would want an object to be pivotable.
Yeah.
Versus this being a crucial service, pivotal. So different words.
Anyhow, so this is way easier to use than Terraform. We had a whole we had an hour-long webcast about how to use Terraform to build our class previously. In this case, it's literally like 4 button clicks.
You can do it in 60 seconds or less.
It's so much easier. So
it really
we're
is.
happy about that. If you want to check it out, doazlab.com. You just click the deploy to Azure Lab. If you already have an Azure portal account, it's 60 seconds and you're running. So.
And Azure does have a nice $200 pack for free credits. You want to talk about what you ran into trying?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know.
There's some considerations
okay.
there. But.
Yes. So using Azure portal, you should use you when it asks for like a first and then last name, and you should not use not you, but use your credit card on more than one account.
Of note. So they flag. I think the intention there is for Microsoft to flag accounts that are attempting to abuse their free credit offering. So be honest in your deployment of an account on Azure to claim those $200 in free credits, which is amazing. I mean, they expect you to use them in 30 days to try out their services, and it's worth it. I mean, it really is. Like, we go back to that parachuter reference. I'm at the point now where I want to perform a threat hunt because I did something crazy on a pen test, and the customer didn't have a detection for it. They wanted me to figure out how to detect it in the future. I can spin up a lab now in about 40 minutes on the back end, jump in, perform my threat hunt, provide event logs, other indicators of compromise, and then tell that customer within a couple hours, here's what that looks like in logging. So what we're showing off here is some of Azure's quick start templates. Again, I think there's a slide coming down the road, but ARM templates, from my perspective, are going to be a solution for red teams, for blue teams, for purple teams. Like the ARM integrations with the things we need as, investigators or researchers, threat hunters, whatever. ARM can provide such an extensible use case for deploying, scenarios.
Anything.
Yeah, like what you see here. You want a Barracuda WAF?
It's incredible. Okay,
Let's duplicate that.
We should say, like, a lot of the DOAZ lab stuff we've built, we use some of the code that that Cyber War Dog built into OTRF.
OTRF, Open
Thank you.
Threat Research Foundation.
Which also, I mean, he works for Microsoft now, so it all kind of plays together, and it's using those Azure components. So yeah, it's right on top there. It's awesome. Obviously, it's customized to that, but the point being is that using ARM templates, you know, the idea behind any of this is that you want to have an environment you can test in that looks like your production environment. Mm-hmm. And that can be really difficult to do, but they've gone through and templated a lot of this out where, you know, like you said, need a Barracuda system? Okay, just
need a Cisco firewall, need a Palo Alto. All of these things are deployable. Anything you can deploy on Azure as a stack, you can deploy with ARM templates. It's beautiful. As mentioned, right? Completely customizable. JSON format. Define your resources, tell it where you want your stuff, configure your network. Basically everything available in the user interface is configurable here. Our ARM template relies on a user called doadmin and some pre-baked credentials. So here's your opportunity to go investigate what an ARM template actually looks like under the hood, modify that to your own needs, you know, fork the repo, clone the repo, whatever you want to do, modify it, deploy it.
So Jada, if you are going to deploy right now, like if you go to doazlab.com, it doesn't tell you what the passwords are. That's okay. Just look inside the JSON file. You'll find all the passwords there, and we'll discuss it more later, but yeah. All right, so the lab that we set up uses something called desired state configurations. And the idea behind it is previously we had to like generate a Microsoft Windows image of a server that had all of our configurations on it. And then we used Terraform to like do a bunch more stuff on top of that. And it was not ideal for lots of reasons. One of them being that we never had an updated version of Windows because we were using a static image that we created. This is much different than that. At this point, we're now we're using a Windows updated image that's updated every night. And then on top of that, we add desired state configurations, which essentially you can think of it as PowerShell, kind of. You can do other things besides PowerShell, but for the most part, we're using PowerShell. And so after we create an image based off of a nightly build that Microsoft has, we then start running these additional desired state configurations on top of it to get us a scenario that's a custom lab environment.
Yeah, theoretically, if you were interested in running like a CCDC event, desired state configuration can create a vulnerable state for your, say, CTF platform. Again, like I am blown away by Azure ARM templates. Like really, they are everything you could want to create red team labs, CCDC, and I only know that from experience and talking to somebody who maintains CCDC labs. They use desired state configurations to create those consistently vulnerable configurations that could then be used in the events. So.
All right,
take this one.
So that lab we talked about, DOAZ lab, if you go there, this is the lab that you're going to end up with. Let's just start at the top. We're going to have an attack server. It's Linux. If you took our class previously, you'll know we had something very similar, but it also ran Helk. No more Helk. We've also got a domain controller in there, and the domain controller is going to have about 2,500 users. It's going to have a bunch of computer accounts. It's going to have MS Defender, and it's going to have a log analytics agent. Previously, we had a long discussion about like WWHF and how to get Windows logs from one place to another, get them normalized and get them into a SIEM, and then let the SIEM denormalize them into a way that you can then read them with aggregation. Very complicated, and this makes it a lot easier. Also in this lab, you've got a domain joined workstation that'll have compromised users that you can attack. We'll have PowerShell, Sysmon, and then of course that log analytics agent. What's interesting is that there is a Azure Sentinel log analytics agent for Linux, which is really cool. Now we throw it on the attack system, so it's there, but you know, in reality, if you're running a lot of Linux systems, you still have this opportunity for that as well. Jordan's mentioning that my laptop is going to try to reboot and update on me. So thanks, Microsoft.
Is it second Tuesday? It is. Yesterday was the second Tuesday.
So the last piece there is Azure Sentinel, where all these pieces are coming in together. This used to be our Helk, but not just Helk. It used to be our Helk. It used to be our Elastalert. Sorry. It used to be our
attack server.
Yeah, it was all in one, and now it's kind of separated out on its own, and it's a service as a service. So you don't even really need to think about the compute that's behind it because it's all running as a service. So it's kind of nice as well.
Yeah, it really is.
We should add that this is an isolated lab that we built, but the reality of it is what you'd be looking at from a parachuter's perspective, right? Because that's what we talked about at one time is dropping ourselves into an IR, like how can we get something useful out of this? It is possible to get Azure Sentinel, right? That's the only component you need, and then you can start dumping logs directly into Azure Sentinel or import the logs in there, and then still be able to do your queries from there, just like you could have done in Helk in the past.
Yeah, I think you kind of glossed over how complicated threat optics is to manage and deploy, and how easy the log analytics agent actually is. So this isn't just a tool you can use in Azure. The log analytics agent can be installed on laptops. It can be installed on on-premise servers, physicals, VMs. You can put it anywhere. And so this also defeats that problem of, in a WWHF scenario, your endpoints being behind a VPN and having remote workforces that aren't consistently connected to your domain, so they can't communicate over a stable tunnel to push logs. Like this really gives you an additional visibility front where you can't really hide your logs. You can't drop off the domain and have systems that are lost in the ether, so to speak. So, well, yeah, somebody we've got a lot of respect for just drop some communication in here. I think we even mentioned him coming up. So, hello, Olaf. Thank you, as always, for joining. And that kind of segued really nicely into the simplification of threat optics.
All right, going forward, we should say there's one caveat about, okay, obviously I'm a Microsoft fanboy. There's something funny in PowerPoint. You can now add people into your PowerPoints with a couple of clicks. So I find it highly amusing. So now you're gonna see what I consider some of the most premium Microsoft PowerPoint people cutouts in our slide decks, and I just love it. Okay.
And this is, hang on. This is what you get from having licensed products.
Yeah.
We are able to reach out to Microsoft in our slide deck template and say, hey, we would like to use your pre-cut people art. And here they are. You're going to see them the rest of the slide deck. It's fantastic. This is also a consideration Kent and I have used for years, where we're concerned about the images that we take off the internet to apply into our slide decks from a usage scenario, right? These are licensed, these are legit, and it really makes us worry a little less.
All right, so in the upper right-hand corner there, you see kind of the we don't want to say old way because we really pushed for this a lot 3 years ago, a lot. And I don't know if we saw the error in our ways, but I think it's more that the technology has progressed a lot more. 3 years ago, there was no Sentinel in the capacity that it is now, but previously we had this whole volume of logs we had to do something with, try to get them normalized, denormalized, and aggregate something we can read. Yes, I see the bills flowing inside of Discord. It is different now, and we have to say yes, this is all costing money, and
we address this concern.
It's not that much money. But here's the thing. Previously, we used GPOs to do WWHF and do audit policy Sysmon and all this to try to get this working.
It was 4 labs in previous class.
Yeah.
So we wasted the first day. I used the wrong word. We spent the first day of our old version of this class learning threat optics in depth, right? What is WWHF? How to apply Sysmon configurations? What is an audit policy, and what do you do with that? Now, with the Sentinel log analytics agent, it's global configuration. It's deploy it, and you're done. Go.
Gosh, you're sounding like a fanboy. Someone asked if they have licensed memes. No, but they might have NFTs.
Oh, NFTs for memes?
I'm sure someone's trying to make money on it. All right. It ain't me. So yeah, the point here is that, if you look at what we're doing, trying to get your logs, which are going to have all that stuff that you want as a hunter, how do you get that from these systems to something that you can actually use, ingest, search, hunt for? And it just becomes so much more simplified. Yes, you need to get them into a centralized platform that you can search for things, fully indexed, and Helk was right on before, but the simplicity of this just makes it so much easier.
I want to know which slide number this is because I said I was going to use the magic 8-ball a couple times. I have a question, and that is any other threat hunting platform going to be able to beat Windows telemetry in 3 to 5 years?
I can't even, hold on. It's very important.
I'm gonna switch slides here while we wait for our answer.
Okay, you ready? Better not tell you now.
That's a
That's
fantastic.
a fantastic answer.
That is the right answer.
We actually had this conversation recently at BHS because we build some adversarial test products, we'll call them, right? And the question was, should we build them on Azure because we needed compute resources? We already have a relatively large platform there, and we kind of said, well, maybe we shouldn't build it there because the whole goal of doing this is so we can test whether or not our tooling is already signatured. And if we build it in Azure, we can shut off all the signature, but, well, I mean,
Can you?
can we? So just looking at it from perspective, yeah, we might be able to shut off like Defender running in the background that's monitoring all running code, but we're still running code on top of those servers. And I'm not really one to think that Microsoft's not monitoring the code running on the backend hypervisors anyway. So just something to throw out. We're not actually going to put that service on Azure for that reason. To Jordan's point, there is there a better service right now for telemetry like that? And I don't know if there is for Windows.
Right now, I think a lot of EDR vendors can compete, right? I think CrowdStrike's product is absolutely amazing. I think Cylance's products are absolutely amazing. But I think in 3 to 5 years, as Microsoft products continue to develop through their AI, right? Their AI is collecting data off every single licensed Windows installation on the planet, and even those that aren't licensed, right? So their visibility into the endpoint problems, right? Into like current hacker techniques and what is actually flowing through these systems. And then they're able to aggregate that. They're able to take that and decouple it with Defender. And then they've got stuff like Sentinel now. Like I truly believe in 3 to 5 years that there is not a single EDR vendor that will be able to compete.
Listen, we're both running Windows right now because we're on a webcast. Microsoft knows we're both running Windows right now. I don't know what to say about that. Like, it's there.
CrowdStrike does not have the same level of access to Windows telemetry that Microsoft has to Windows telemetry, which I think is going to make a very bullish case for Microsoft's EDR products in 3 years.
It's getting strong. It's getting tough.
It is. It really is. We didn't even really talk about Sysmon. Do we want to talk about it anymore?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you mentioned.
Sorry.
You mentioned
like
CrowdStrike.
These topics get me going.
CrowdStrike having visibility into a system, right? And we think CrowdStrike is amazing. Okay, it is. But let's talk about the free version. It's not the free version of CrowdStrike, obviously, but Sysmon Modular. Sysmon being a system monitor, it's a tool that you can install. It's by Microsoft. The licensing for it is if you have a Windows product, you get Sysmon, but you have to install it. And you have to, agree to the terms of service. But the point is that it allows you to do some investigation onto your system real time, and your system becomes monitored with Sysmon Modular, or I'm sorry, with Sysmon. And then on top of that, you use configuration for Sysmon that tells Sysmon what to monitor. And that's these packages, Sysmon Modular being one of them. Sysmon Modular is a list of configurations that instructs Sysmon what to look for real time. And then what Sysmon does is when it sees interesting things, it drops them into event logs. Those event logs can be picked up by things like WWHF in the past, or now by the Azure Sentinel log agent. But it can also be picked up by other products like CrowdStrike, which is going to monitor event logs as well and consequently use Sysmon. They might have their hooks as well on their product. I know they do, but Sysmon is amazing. And a lot of products use Sysmon just for the fact that it already has all that and it's Windows native.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that. Sysmon's logging out of the box, even if you just use the most basic configuration file, really crushes Windows default audit policies and configurations. And if you're not familiar with what a Windows audit policy is, these are the configuration settings you apply to your endpoints that instruct it what to log. Now, Windows, I think, has somewhere in the range of 50,000 event IDs now, starting to look through stuff in Sentinel. Like, there's logs for everything. And Sysmon is at 26, 25 or 26. So from a simplicity perspective, if you can learn how Sysmon logs things and where it sticks its associated events, you are in a much better place. It's really, really challenging to learn all of the nooks and crannies configurable in audit policy, and even harder to go learn how to start finding stuff. So for years, we have loved Sysmon for this.
All right, so this is our first picture here of Azure Sentinel. Now, there's something here on the right hand side that says Kusto query, and that
Is it Kusto or is it Kusto?
I don't know.
I don't either. Somebody.
It's pivotal. All right, so what we love about this more than anything is they kept Microsoft didn't intentionally, I'm sure, keep the abbreviation from HELC, or ELK rather, from the KQL, for the Kibana query language, the Kusto or Kusto query language. We're there, we're with it. If you're a DBA, you're gonna love the fact that it looks like.
Love this. Oh my gosh, union event,
Yeah,
security event. Oh, it's brilliant.
If you're familiar with SQL, you already understand the basic syntax of Kusto, so you're already there. And this is awesome. So very easily, what you do here is you create this Kusto query language, query rather, and then you just run it. That's it. Now I know HELC did the same thing in the past, but a lot of the benefit for pivoting from HELC to Azure Sentinel was the ease of deployment. It's on point for us now. But there are things with that just continue getting better. And this Kusto query language is easy. There is a huge community of people that have already gone through and built a lot of detections in here as well. And previously with HELC, we had once you had these query languages, these queries built, you could save them, and then you could eventually turn them into something that did something like an alert. Mind blowing what Sentinel can do in terms of this stuff, and being able to create an alert and then do automation on that alert. Like, say for example, you build an alert that you know for sure a system is compromised, you can turn up auditing on it, or you can just shut the system offline or put it into an isolated VLAN state. Amazing stuff. But point being here is that this is really awesome, and once you're in there working with it, it's thoughtful and it works out really well.
I think you missed one little point too here. The queries performed against HELC were compute intensive on our C2 server, on our HELC box. This compute does not impact the performance of your systems because it's running on Microsoft compute. So these queries are quick, they're non-intensive and non-interruptive. So really learning KQL from this perspective has been huge for us for many reasons, but that one especially. So moving on, it's a SIEM.
It is a SIEM, and it's not the coolest thing about HELC before in the past for us, and I shouldn't say just HELC because those of you that are running security and know this as well, you can just take a bunch of denormalized logs and just throw it at it and deal with it later. It's not as easy to do that in Sentinel, but the point is you can still dump logs and just raw logs at it, and it will process them and give you a basic ability with indexing to drop those out into fields just like you could previously. But it just kind of worked for us. And if you're thinking, well, what about my obscure firewall? The thing about obscure firewalls is the logging still looks like other firewalls because they used open source code, so it all looks the same anyway. Yeah, it's a SIEM. We're not just ingesting Windows logs. Now in this case, we kind of are, but that's not the end all for this. We want to point out that you can dump all kinds of logs in here and make some automation and hunting in here that's on point.
Yeah, agree completely. And we've been looking at stuff like Defender for Cloud. So you can also do platform logging in Azure. You can dump that stuff in here, and then your Defender for Cloud, so you can see user identity attacks against your Active Directory environments that are hosted there. There's so many integrations with this tool from a cloud perspective and a threat management perspective. As you see here on the left, right, the incidents then are created on the right in association with the alerts. We run some sketchy PowerShell commands. We use a couple of event IDs and some strings that we're interested in looking for. We flag those. Yeah, and we'll show that stuff off again. But yeah.
By the way, looking at the interface here, the first thing that pops into my mind is wow, it's like ELK with dashboards. But it's built that way, and it's a product that's ready to go, which is amazing. In the past, yes, you could have had a Kibana dashboard, but then you would have had to gone through and actually built it or imported code in. It's all here.
It is.
The people that built this clearly knew what they were building and knew what they were trying to replace, and it is right there, and it's awesome. So, just looking at it, threat management, it's a SIEM. You have a place for incidents, you have a place for workbooks, for hunting, for notebooks, for entity behavior, threat intelligence. It's all there.
It really is. Yeah, integrate your taxi feeds.
Yeah.
For those of you who are interested in threat intelligence, it's kind of a sore topic around here, but
we weren't supposed to talk about like being fanboys about this, but it is that maybe in 3 years we'll be talking about something else.
Indeed. So yeah, here's that money conversation. And
Yeah.
it's painful, right? You're paying for EDR now, almost a guarantee. Are you getting what you think you deserve from those EDR products? Are they fully integrated? Is it performing? If we went back to our problem statement slide, is it solving all of your problems? Are you still getting compromised? Are your users still clicking on phishing links? Anyway.
A question in Discord, I think, for us, Jordan, is Sentinel an appropriate location to house data for an MSSP, multi-tenanting?
Multi-tenancy is an interesting consideration.
No, I would argue there's an opportunity there as an MSSP that you're probably already working with multi-tenants anyway in Azure.
Yeah.
So you already have the platform for multi-tenanting, yes, Sentinel, but I believe you could also put it into a single platform and do it there. Either way, if you're multi-tenanting it using your customer's platform, there may be some benefit in that as well. All right, so
we might stop right here and just ask, hey, in the background, are there any questions we should address at this point? We are about halfway through the slide deck and about halfway through the time. If any of you want to come online here real quick. Do you see anything else? I did see somebody ask about Azure Stack Hub, and I unfortunately don't have any experience with that. So my assumption would be that under the hood, you could probably integrate Stack Hub with, not Defender, with SIEM native logging into Sentinel, and then figure out what you're looking for. I will look that up after and see if there's anything interesting there.
Since this this slide has money on it, we should talk about that. The pricing components of this, there's the advanced Defender components that you don't have to use Sentinel. To use Sentinel, what you do have to have is the Sentinel component, and then you're paying for log retention. And then once you start looking at the hunting perspectives of it, and you start using like Jupyter playbooks in there, then you end up needing to sometimes use machine learning, which, yay.
What is that?
So you may need to add a compute resource to that. I think the smallest one we used was like 18 cents an hour, which, don't get me wrong, that can get expensive. But the point is you shut it off when you're done. The key thing to note there, though, is that this is all money. And we're no longer talking about using Logstash and using like a NX log to push logs around, or using LECWF to push logs around, or using Elk and Elasticsearch, which was all open source.
How many boxes do you need for your WEC? How many endpoints do you have? You're paying for endpoint products. Ultimately, like endpoint detection response tools are very expensive. So
Static Tier just said Sentinel E5 licensing on the way. Yeah, let's hope not. I don't want to have to pay E5 to get Sentinel. Right now, it is a completely different product, isolated on its own, that you can up logs to.
Yeah, and that, I think your point there about E5 licensing is to integrate with the current version of Microsoft Defender for ATP, or I think they call it MS Defender for Identity now. That does require additional licensing. The way we have this set up does not require E5. This is just Sentinel, log analytics, and then some compute resources.
All the fun stuff is in E5, yeah, that's true. But yeah, if you have E5, there's more logs that you can dump into Sentinel. In our place where we're using the lab, doazlab.com, it is just what we build. We're dumping those logs into Sentinel. But yeah, you can definitely dump more. You can dump the entire Azure platform there if you want to.
So then my argument here is, if you're spending a lot of money on EDRs, and my prediction comes true, can we really in 3 years afford to not have the best product available?
Someone mentioned what's the ballpark estimate for use for an IR for a couple of weeks. So someone else mentioned Microsoft loves data and you have to pay to get it out. You're paying for log retention. So, and someone also mentioned the default is 30 days. Yeah, but you can make that however long you want. You are paying for log retention. So just be aware of that. So here's the thing. On our platform, you looked at that lab, it was 3 VMs and the Azure Sentinel platform, it's around $10 a day, right? So it goes up from there as soon as you start ingesting terabytes of logs. But if you start there, it's affordable.
Jupyter Notebooks, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here because some of you know how to use Jupyter Notebooks, probably have in your threat hunting processes. My understanding is that this allows us to do some very complex querying using disparate log sources to connect events and theories and create visualizations. Jupyter notebooks are supported. It just requires the machine learning Kent was talking about earlier and a lot of other additional bits and pieces to come together to make those Jupyter notebooks. So this topic is complex. I wanted to mention it, but I am unfamiliar with the use of Jupyter in our context.
So previously, those who have watched us for a long time, we had a platform called Atomic Purple Team. And one of the outcomes of Atomic Purple Team, outputs of Atomic Purple Team in an environment was a report that you'd build. And the report would say something along the lines of, here's a scenario we're going to run about a red team attack, and here's how the blue team will respond, and here's the result. The result is we had some sort of configuration change that hardened our security overall, right? That was kind of what these playbooks were in Atomic Purple Team. And I sent a message to Jordan. I was like, like the entire Atomic Purple Team playbooks could be rebuilt into Jupyter playbooks in Sentinel, and then you could just press the play button, and you could have all that automation there. And when you came time to the whole idea behind a playbook is that you could replay them, right? So in Atomic Purple Team, the idea is that you'd have some sort of red team attack, and you did it this year, you hardened it, and then you have a piece of paper. Next year, you pull up your playbook and you replay it, and you have fidelity check, right, to make sure that you are still safe from that specific attack. The idea with a Jupyter playbook is you go in there and you just hit play. And it does it all. And because it's running in Azure, if your other resources are also in Azure, it could automate the entire thing. And I mentioned it to Jordan last night, and yeah, it might be a way to go because it puts it all in one place and it's just clean. So I've never found a good Jupyter notebook explanation. This concept is fascinating. Yeah. Okay. So so can't get into it too much, but think about a playbook in the terms that I just said, which was like we want to do something, we want to test something, and think about it in like UAP, right? So you have user acceptance testing, UAT, and you have a specific sort of regression testing you need to do on a platform. And then you give it to like a business analyst who then gets a bunch of developers and users to test a piece of software, and they regress test all these features, right? It takes forever. The idea behind a Jupyter playbook is you just press play and all the automation is there, and you can reproduce the same results for UAT, but in the context of, in this case, security testing. Yeah.
I like their theory of playbooks a lot. What I was hoping to find when I went digging through there was, so we create a PowerShell event as a red teamer. The blue teamer flags, some strings, some event IDs. The red teamer got caught. I wanted the playbook to be able to snag memory off that running VM, power down the VM, and then ship that memory for analysis over to an additional tool or some compute resource in Azure to produce, the network connections that happened initially, the execution events, and then anything that happened after that. But what we found is a little different, right? I was hoping for memory, I didn't find memory. But what we did find is very active countermeasures ready to rock and roll, and I use that intentionally. So shout to ACM there. We can do IP blocking, user account locking, and system lockdowns in response to any definable Kusto query that then Kusto, any triggerable event, alarm, alert that then generates an incident. We can associate a playbook to perform some of our automated operations in response.
I like that you brought up ACM, Active Countermeasures. They're a sister company. And the fact that you can take the output from that and dump it into Azure Sentinel and use it as one of your, your quantifying metrics for systems for hunting, which is awesome.
Yeah. Very, very capable response platform. So for those of you into acronyms, that SOAR is, very familiar to incident responders. So a little bit more about Kusto query language. Want to dive in?
Kusto. All right.
Kusto.
It's basic query syntax. You kind of already talked a little bit about it, but it'll remind you of SQL, and it is KQL. It's Kusto or Kusto. So this is a very simple KQL we've made here, and we're doing a couple of things here. So where event ID equals 4103, 4104, 4105, 4688. And then we add some more information there, where event data contains IEX. So that should be enough, but we were trying to hunt for PowerShell here, right? Invoking some applications directly into memory using PowerShell. And I do like that, the import and bypass in there as well. And then some additional things in there, event data contains Git. So looking at this, kind of like working backwards, you can say, well, something's on Git, maybe Hub, which is Microsoft, by the way. and we're using IEX and bypass. So my guess is someone's running PowerShell bypass IEX to jump some sort of PowerShell directly from Git into memory, and the event IDs are going to match up to some sort of execution there.
I'd say you described that very well. So again, SQL, right? A union statement. Maybe we want to look at logs from a couple different places, which I find to be a fascinating theory, which really beats up Elastic's availability at this. In Elastic, you've got to define an index, and then you search through the logs associated with an index. This is not a disparate search then. You're in a specific index or one of the indices associated with your Elastic cluster. We do a super quick log search from event and security event, disparate sources, and then we perform, a quick comparison, basically saying where some event ID, and then where some sketchy PowerShell, and I want to see the computer that happened on, the description, and then some additional results.
There's one question in Discord we will address about the longevity of logs and cost in Sentinel. So we'll get there. So let's look at it from an actual rundown case here. We're going to make a mess of Active Directory. We used Bad Blood for that. If you're not familiar with Bad Blood, check it out, David Rowe. He did an awesome job with that. I actually worked with him last year a little bit. I made a bunch of changes. And I said, hey, look at all these cool changes I made. He said, okay, do a pull request. And I said, okay, and I never did. And then he took all the features that I wrote and he just wrote them into his version of the code, which was amazing. So Bad Blood got an update last year. It looks awesome. Anyways, it's great. Don't run it in production ever.
No,
don't do that. But we're using it here to just make a mess of AD and give us a bunch of stuff to look at in there. So after we do that in our lab, we want to make sure that the agents are connected. Remember that we have those log agents that are dumping logs from the systems directly into Sentinel. And then we just want to make sure that we have Sentinel logs flowing. Within a few minutes, we had 1.1 billion logs. That's a lot. But it's not like it's slow. It's all fast, which is nice.
Yeah, 1.1 million logs in 24 hours.
Got it.
So that's what that's showing. Not in 1 minute, but yeah, our EPS, I don't know. Somebody do the math, divide 1.1 million by 86 and go from the 86,000 and then go from there. One of the gotchas we figured out, I haven't really sorted this out, and that's just because we've been on dev on the front end. These boxes do not come up automatically connected to our workspace. So you have to go into Log Analytics Workspace, Virtual Machines, and then connect each of those VMs. It's a manual click. I haven't figured out what we're doing wrong in there, but then we can go check and make sure logs are flowing. And from there, we're ready to, make some noise.
And definitely, it's easy to make noise. So, and the lab that we have, we do a bunch of things like running host recon, Bloodhound AD, password sprays, Kerber roasting. The idea here is that every one of these, we want to be able to do the hunting step for it and find these inside of Sentinel. Now, if you watch our old webcast, we did this for help. And the irony is a lot of those KQL queries are not too dissimilar from the KQL queries you'd have in Azure. They just require a little bit of manipulation, but they still work. Obviously, syntax changes. But the point here is we're now kind of pivoting into that new platform. So it's definitely interesting. We run a lot of different things, and the whole point here is to build some sort of static in the system that we can hunt down, giving us some experience in trying to build the detections in Sentinel.
Yeah, one of the most interesting detections to try and create and make sure I caught consistently is password sprays. And I think a lot of people, a lot of customers are still, a lot of organizations are still struggling with how do you sort out these really under the radar, one guess per hour attacks where one user has a failed login and it doesn't happen again for a long time. If you're not looking at your logs from a visual perspective, it's hard to see password sprays because you've got to pick up either a valid login from somewhere you don't recognize or the spike in event ID 4625s or whatever Kerberos fail validation. That's a difficult attack to catch, and we've come up with a couple techniques in Kusto to do that.
All right, so SharpHound, it's a component of Bloodhound AD. It's essentially the data collector. Here we're going to run host recon, and then we're going to run some Bad Blood or some SharpHound data collection on there. Again, creating noise. Now, this creates a lot of noise.
Should
create a lot of noise. And especially in a production environment, if you run sharp hound with like collection method all, it will try to connect to every single one of your systems in the domain and query off certain information. So there's a lot of logging that potentially is created there. Now, if you can run it and there's no logs, it's definitely possible that your audit policies don't try to
Yeah, I think
log
it's
all that.
event ID 4662, something about access to an object. And part of Bloodhound's enumeration is to reach out and touch each Active Directory object and then enumerate all of its associated attributes, pull those back and populate the database. So you can look up things like password never expires or SPN with your Bloodhound UI. So if you're not seeing this, this is something you should definitely work toward. But it's also a fantastic blue team tool. So we use it as red teamers every single test. And not everyone is catching this. They should. And then as a blue teamer, I want to use this tool too because it will help me understand the path through my network to risky places.
We don't use sharp hound on every single red team test. We do it a lot of internal pen tests, because internal pen tests, it's noisy. You can expect it to be noisy. Red team tests are much different. They're more adversarial, and we try to be a lot quieter. So. All right, but that does bring on the question of red team versus blue team, which if you want to know a lot about that and have us go off on an entire rant, there's an entire webcast about that someone can post in Discord for.
Is that the red team tools for blue teamer?
Yes.
Yes.
That one. All right. So we're going to run the query in the log analytics dashboard. This is in Sentinel. So if you're in the Azure portal, it's portal.azure.com. You search for Sentinel. You go there. You click on your workspace, and then you'll find the section for log analytics. You dump your query in there, and here you go. So of course, we can quickly find creating script block text for invoke host recon. We knew it was there, right? The other cool one there is the IEX, which is us running that PowerShell code directly from GitHub, directly into memory, and here you can see it execute and have a record of that with our KQL query. Now, I would love to say that all adversaries you'd never get caught with these because they'd be doing something different. It's not the case, right? If you're being attacked, it's going to fall into a continuum of their skill level and how quiet they are versus how much time they have on you as a target versus the payoff. So if they can be super, super noisy,
smash and grab
and take everything in a day because that's how it worked out, like they're going to do it. And they don't care how much noise they make, because if they can leave off, with your Bitcoin wallet, then whatever they did, they don't care. They'll run away with it. There's the long game though, where they're not going to be noisy and you won't catch things like this. Or if you do, they're going to be so abstract and so infrequent that you're not going to be able to correlate them back to like a long-term attack. So those are out there as well. But yeah, these things, you'll still find them on active attacks. You'll see IEX in there all the time. A good question to ask is, how often would you see someone running PowerShell from GitHub directly into memory in a production environment on purpose? Like, if you're an administrator, you're probably actually going to because you should do this, you should download the GitHub code and maybe like review it first.
Use version control mechanisms.
Yeah, and like look at the code before you run the code inside of your production environment. It might be different at home, but for work, you should not just be running code out of GitHub directly into memory without inspecting the code. I suppose maybe if the platform is yours, but still, yeah. I mean, typically saying if you're capturing event logs that have IEX in them and you're running PowerShell directly from GitHub, that's pretty sus.
It really is. You could add here though another question. How many customers in the last year where you've been on a pivot, you've been on an internal test, you've got a hold of a system and you've run PowerShell commands, have they at the end of the test or at some point during the engagement said, here's all your commands?
Someone mentioned RMMs do that. Yes, because we trust Kaseya.
Oh yeah.
Too soon? Okay, so yeah, I guess RMMs do that because the people that build RMM tools start to sound a lot like people that build command and control tools, right? They're essentially the exact same thing. So it's no surprise that RMM tools would do that. But yeah, there goes Discord on that tangent.
So where are you going? And then let me go, or do you want me to go and then you go?
I think the point here is that this is very easy to find someone running code in your environment directly. And what we're not even searching for here is someone running code. We're just demonstrating how easy it was to get here.
Yeah, to get the code onto a system, right? and parked in memory cradle. What else is interesting about this slide is the lack of consistency in group policy deployments for PowerShell transcription and script execution policies. There seems to be a fundamental lack of comprehension on how to do these things, why you would do them, and really why aren't they being done everywhere. This is really basic stuff for an organization looking at, I don't know, building its defensive posture. If you're not running PowerShell transcription and you don't know where logs are and you don't know what execution policies are, you should probably create a ticket in your help desk to make sure your security team looks at this. Gives you a report about, are we catching PowerShell if it's executed? This is one of my favorite Purple Team exercises because a lot of people are not catching this stuff. So the basics of deploying a transcription group policy, limiting execution, and then running a PowerShell query, a PowerShell IEX, and then hopefully showing that to me when we're done. This gives you that opportunity to be a red team, blue teamer, a purple teamer, whatever. You're going to improve your security posture by just learning how to catch PowerShell. And it's really a basic one.
Someone mentioned chocolate. He also uses IEX.
Oh, interesting.
I suppose it does. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what are we getting?
Why?
NuGet? What are we getting in Windows for package management? I don't know. We're getting something, right?
NuGet, Git, chocolatey.
Oh, yeah. All right. This is the cool part that used to be Last Alert.
Which
Well,
also was abandoned.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Once you have your KQL, no, that is not enough. Like, it's cool to build it, but is it actionable? And if you get your query to a point that you know it's actionable, you can then turn it into an alarm, into an alert, an alarm, and then do automation with it, which in this case, we're kind of showing here, we're going to run this query, we're going to turn it into an alert. And that kind of helps us because then we can actually do things on it. We can trigger IR processes, we can trigger automation to isolate a machine, or maybe start a fuller audit process on a file share if that's the scope and the target. Do things that are automated based off of your KQL, based off of these logs coming in.
So I'm going back a slide just to demonstrate. We made a bunch of noise. We found a KQL query that returned useful results. We build an alarm. I mean, that seems really straightforward from a threat hunting perspective, right?
God,
Did it work?
It's so much easier than a Last Alert.
It's so much easier than a Last Alert.
All right, so review incidents, alert an incident. I like I said before, when you look at the interface, you look at it and be like, it seems like the people that built Sentinel built it with something very specific in mind, and they did. They absolutely did, and I think that's kind of key there.
Here, do you have a USB-C?
I do. Thank you, sir.
We got a laptop about to die.
Yeah, it's all those VMs running on it. Must just eat some power up. All right.
So again, this platform from our perspective has really grown. And I thought a few years ago, I think, how old is Sentinel? 2 or 3 years?
Yeah,
as a platform, I thought it was in its infancy. And when I went and started using it, I see that it is an absolutely mature SIEM that can compete with any out there. And again, I'm going to make that telemetry argument. You cannot beat Microsoft's visibility into its own products and solutions for producing actionable intelligence about threats. So the ease of deploying these things and the vision Microsoft has for the future, producing the most secure platform on the planet, it's going to be hard to compete. It really is.
I gotta say here, there's a talk about money in Discord. And by the way, Olaf, we put grandma there just for you.
Also released September 2019.
2019, that's why we didn't know about it 3 years ago. Okay, so we want to point out that we have always been open source first, and that has always been the way that we've kind of aligned ourselves, because it really makes sense. And we had this like aversion to like the $2 million Splunk bills. And I'm sure you can get there with, I'm sure you can get there with Azure Sentinel, but we went through all the pain trying to use open source and some of these things. And there is a point where you can justify a reasonable amount of spend on something that makes life easier. And that's kind of where we ended up. And it didn't, like, the weighted balance wasn't so much like, we're not sure. It was like, whoa, there's a clear picture here of something that's so well optimized
that efficiently, from a cost perspective, it makes more sense to do this than our alternatives. And now, obviously, there are limitations and thresholds to that where you're going to get that $2 million Splunk bill equivalence. I'm sure it's there.
If you're
right.
paying Splunk, you're paying Microsoft. What's the difference?
There was another mention of someone that's already deployed in Splunk. I commend you for thinking you're gonna have an easy time moving to Sentinel. Splunk's massive. Like, you're gonna have to touch every one of those automations and queries.
And Olaf, right? Again, this is someone we have a monumental amount of respect for. Says it's about 50% the cost to run Sentinel versus Splunk. I have no idea how to back those numbers up, but this is someone I trust.
Someone's gonna quote us at Azure.
I know, it's awful. And I can't imagine what like our coworkers are gonna say tomorrow about our love for Microsoft products. Like, it's going to be brutal.
I hope we don't get a call from, even if we do get a call from Roberto Rodriguez, he works for Microsoft. So I don't, hey, why'd you hate on Health? Well, we're loving on your other products. So
Exactly.
All right, so let's talk.
This is our last slide.
It's a mandatory slide.
It is.
Okay, so why did we just talk about Helk and Azure Sentinel? And we very briefly mentioned, we have 4 minutes.
We're good.
Atomic purple teaming. And the idea behind it is that we want to talk about securing your environments, your production environments, and how to do that. If you don't have a clear picture of how to do that right now, go check out Atomic Purple Team. The link's there. It's a platform, a framework that can help you get there. And the way it works is that it's a life cycle. It's off of ISO 27001 or I can't remember. It reminds me of the Six Sigma days, right? The whole idea behind it is that it's a life cycle, and you start from something that you want to test, you test it, you get the groups together, you build a playbook, and you can repeat it. And at the end of the year, you have a piece of paper that's worth money to your CISO. You get 10 of those, and you get more money every year because of it.
This is to appropriate security funding, not appropriate security funding, though they back each other up. Slightly different meanings here.
So if you're struggling to get money in your security workforce and your team, check out Atomic Purple Team. There's a framework to help you there. And yeah, we do have a class coming up called Applied Purple Teaming, which is the same acronym, by the way, because we're terrible at acronyms. That class is coming up next month. Someone posted details there, so that's that. Yeah.
Strengthening security, really.
That's the whole goal.
BHIS bought an office recently, and I think it was a medical clinic. So then our new mantra, hopefully going forward, is healing the internet. Ooh. And we have had this thing for a long time about making the world a better place. This is our attempt to help with that and truly do so. Anything else you want to add here? We've got our
we should add that the class is much more geared towards attacks and defenses, and then using Azure Sentinel as the SIEM to do the hunting for it. So just wanted to point that out. It's not hours of us talking about how great Sentinel is. Where is it? I don't know. We do have quite a few questions. One of them I want to ask, Jordan, if you want this local, is security onion an option? Network and logs with CyberChef.
It can be.
We're familiar with security onion.
I ran it here for 3 or 4 months. Did full packet dumps and did all my kids' laptop monitoring and systems, and it was okay. It was okay. It rolled in there at some point into, I think it's version 3 now, and my experience wasn't great, but I also didn't know all the ins and outs of the product. That was me trying to learn so I could speak about it slightly intelligently. Just didn't, in comparison with Helk and ACM's Rita, I was just I found as much as I needed out of Rita as I did and Helk as I did with Security Onion, and probably crushed it ultimately.
One quick question, we have 30 seconds left. How intuitive is the Sentinel UI? Azure overall feels super clunky and not intuitive. We have a lab for that. That's about 5 minutes. That tells you how to navigate Azure portal. And once you look at it, you're like, that makes sense. I get it now. Because we're on board with you. If you've never used the portal or you get in there and use it occasionally, a 5-minute lab will make you efficient and effective in the portal. That's all it takes. But
there's something really weird where they do sectional navigation. Like you click to open something and you end up with another squeezed bar and then another thing, and you end up with all these panes. So it is a little clunky, but once you're used to it,
we're at the top of the hour. We're gonna hang on for a few minutes here, and I'm guessing someone else will join us. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
We're not. I mean, we got a nice fight here. We can just hang out.
Have another cup of coffee. Do you a
No, we were
sandwich?
just gonna let you guys keep going. I mean,
We definitely could.
probably
and
turn this
We're
into
out
a
of content.
6 hours at least.
Oh, we could keep going.
Oh, I'm sure. I have no doubts whatsoever.
Yeah,
Well, thanks
nobody-
again for you guys coming on and giving this information, this talk for everybody. We always love hanging out with you. For those of you that joined us via GoToWebinar or registered via GoToWebinar, you guys will get a certificate of completion tomorrow around this time. It's usually about 24 hours. And you guys are going to hang around and answer some questions in Discord, right, for a little bit?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Well, I think that that's pretty much it as far as housekeeping. Please, you know, if people are interested, definitely come and hang out with us at Way West. We're super excited. And we want to get back out there and be able to see and, you know, be with our colleagues and coworkers and, you know, the community. It's going to be a great event. For those of you that can't join us in person, we are going to have the virtual component as well. So please do that as well if you can't join us live. But we're going forward. Hopefully everything stays, you know, on the downward slide with COVID, and we can all get together. So we're excited about that.
I hope that wherever we land for a hotel, there'll be a fireplace in the lobby and we can just commandeer the lobby for our class, because it's wonderful being on it. It's very cozy.
Yeah. I mean, you guys seemed a little bit too relaxed. No, I'm just,
That was the intention, right? Have a peaceful
No, I'm
chat
kidding.
about some stuff we love.
yes. Yes. You guys always have, when you did the 24-hour con-a-thon thing and you were in your like greenhouse, Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty cool. So maybe next time we'll have like some sort of a greenhouse effect.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the weather is nice enough right now where I think we're going to be able to start planting seeds very soon.
Nice,
Exciting.
nice.
Very exciting.
Well, you've definitely planted some seeds of knowledge.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Well
Well said.
See what I did
Any-
there?
You guys have any questions, or is there anything you want to address real quick?
No, I think that we're pretty much good. There's assertive completion, and we're going to have some more Hackin Cast coming up. So definitely keep an eye out on our schedule. Your class is not next month, just so you know. It's this month. It's the 22nd. So you might want to put that on your
Yep,
schedule.
no problem. No problem. We're ready.
Yeah. Okay. Just checking in. Just checking in, boss. But other than that, I think we're pretty much good. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. And we'll see you on the next one.
thanks so much. I got to point out, Jordan just pointed at my laptop because it just started Windows updates and rebooted on me. So we'll be back in
Nice.
Discord in a little bit.
Perfect timing.
Dude,
May perhaps. Thanks so much, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a good day.
truly. Thank you.